Most people misread you completely. They think your quiet face means you feel less. It usually means you feel more than you're willing to show. You've been called mysterious, reserved, difficult to figure out, maybe even cold, when you've spent the entire conversation feeling things you refused to say out loud. And somewhere along the way, you started wondering if something was wrong with you, if you were broken in some subtle, almost invisible way. Here's the truth. You're not hard to read because you're detached. You're hard to read because your inner world is too layered to fit into a single expression. Picture this. Someone you care about just told you something painful. Your face stays still. You nod once. You ask a calm, reasonable follow-up question. From the outside, you look unbothered. Inside, your chest is tight. Your mind is replaying 6 different things they said, weighing each word, testing it for truth, testing it for pain. You already know what they need, but you don't move yet. You wait. You watch. And then everyone in the room concludes that you just don't feel things as deeply. That's the moment most people misread you. And you know it's wrong. You feel it in your body. You just can't explain it without sounding like you're defending yourself. So let me say it clearly. You are not emotionally unavailable. You are emotionally deliberate. Psychologists sometimes call this a controlled processing style. Translation: your mind does most of its work behind the screen, not in front of it. The screen is small. The mind behind it is enormous. Here's the first layer. You learned early that showing too much gave other people too much power. Maybe a parent weaponized your emotions. Maybe you were the kid who confided something and watched it spread through the room. Maybe you simply watched adults around you get punished for being honest. So you didn't build walls. You built shutters. Shutters let you observe. They let you choose what passes through. People see the shutters and assume the house is empty. But the house is not empty. The house is full. Here's what most people miss. You notice everything. The small shift in someone's voice, the pause before a lie, the way a friend says, "I'm fine," while their shoulders pull in toward their neck. Other people miss these signals. You never do. Research on emotional granularity shows that some people don't feel emotions more. They feel them in finer detail. They register more shades of more feelings, which is why a flat expression can sit on top of a riot inside. And this is the part nobody talks about. You didn't learn to be quiet because you felt nothing. You learned to be quiet because you felt everything, and showing it cost you something. That's not a flaw. That is adaptation. Think of your mind like a deep lake. Surface still, surface quiet. Anyone standing at the edge assumes it's shallow. They skip stones across it and walk away convinced they understood it. But you've been swimming in it your whole life. You know where it drops. You know the cold layers. You know the currents that move under the calm. When you finally speak, you speak carefully. Not because you don't have words, because you've tested every word in private first. And that's why, when someone finally earns your honesty, the words land so heavy. You're not handing them a casual reaction. You're handing them the version you ran through 100 filters. That weight is what people mistake for depth they don't deserve. It's actually the weight of someone who refused to give you cheap versions of themselves. You're not guarded because you don't trust. You're guarded because you do trust, just slowly, and only after you've watched long enough to know it'll be safe. There's a quieter reason underneath that too. You probably absorbed very young that your value depended on being composed, that being the calm one made you safe, that melting down in front of people cost them their respect for you. So you carried it all, stood still while it burned. And now you do it so well that nobody even thinks to ask what it costs. Here's the contradiction that makes people misunderstand you most. You look detached, but you feel deeply. You look unbothered, but you are one careless sentence away from showing a stranger exactly who you are. You look like someone who doesn't need anyone. And the truth is, you've just gotten very good at needing people quietly. You don't post it, you don't announce it. You hold it in a private drawer in your chest and revisit it alone, in small moments, late at night, wondering if anyone will ever bother to look in that drawer at all. To be honest, this trait can become a trap. You can confuse stillness for safety. You can use restraint as a way to never reveal, never risk, never be misread, and slowly let the world move on without you. You can become so practiced at being the observer that you forget to step into your own life. You can read everyone perfectly and still let someone walk all over you because you were too busy studying them to say, out loud, what you needed. But that's not inevitable. That's just the shadow side of the same gift. You don't have to be unreadable forever. You can be quiet and still be known. You can be careful and still be open. You don't owe everyone your whole interior, but the people who earn it, the ones who stay long enough to see you hesitate before you speak, and notice the hesitation, and stay anyway. Those people deserve the version of you that comes after the shutter. You were never cold. You were just never loud about being warm. And the right people, the ones who don't need you to perform feeling in order to believe it exists, those people will read you perfectly. Not because you changed, because they bothered to learn your language. You don't need to be easier to read. You need to be read by better people. If this hit you somewhere quiet, tell me in the comments, are you hard to read? Or are you surrounded by people who never learned how to look? And if you want to go deeper, the next video is about the psychology of people who were always the calm one in the room, and what that cost them.